Hi, my name is Heather Logan, and I'm going to share some information with you on using affirmations to build relationships with young children. A couple of your colleagues attended the session that I did on this at the ETSU Early Childhood Conference and appreciated it, wanted to share it with you, and I thought it might be a good idea for you to hear some of it verbally as well as hearing some examples from your colleagues and reading the information in a PowerPoint. So, I strongly believe that sometimes we have to be intentional in even the most simple things that we do with young children, such as building relationships. We know that building positive relationships is certainly important in the work we do, and it's not always easy. So sometimes we have to be real intentional with the tools that we're going to use to do that. So as a reminder, the importance of positive relationships between educators, caregivers, teachers, parents, any adult and young children is that they are fundamental to quality care. And they lead to children's abilities to regulate their own emotions and behavior, which is what we really want for them. And children who feel valued, which is what affirmations are going to do, are more likely to feel secure, thrive, and feel a part of a community. And we know that a baby's early experiences and relationships set the stage for future brain functioning, and caring and responsive relationships also lead to that optimum brain growth. And then we oftentimes wonder what are we going to do with children with challenging behaviors? Well, research suggests that positive teacher-child relationships lead to less challenging behavior. So all really important and valuable reasons to build relationships with young children. Affirmations are going to help us do this. You know, we all have this need for attention, and the more positive it can be, the better. When we think about affirming children, I'm going to share 5 specific ways with you that you can affirm children. And with all 5 of these, and when you think about affirmations in general, there are some guidelines. One is to be specific. So I see lots of yellow swirls and blue dots, or you drew circles and straight lines. So rather than commenting on how much you love a painting, being specific in what you see. Express your feelings about the action and not the person. So we're going to focus on the behavior of the child. I heard you ask him to stop hitting you. So again, we're talking about exactly what the child did, not how you feel about it, or how you feel about the person. We're going to avoid value judgments, such as good, bad, right, wrong, I love it, I like it. We're going to use body language and be sincere. Children, like adults, know when we're being sincere and when we're not being sincere. So, before we talk about the specific ways to use affirmations, I also want to make sure that you think differently about saying good job. It really is so easy to just flow out of our mouths. Sometimes when I go into classrooms, after I've addressed this topic, I will tally how many times an educator says good job, and often it's 15, 20 times in a period of half an hour. And after children hear the same thing so many times to all of the children in the classroom, it loses its meaning. So the children, may become praise junkies with this. We're going to just teach them to seek approval, and we're not teaching them specifically what it is that they've done well. So there are some starters for giving positive feedback here, and your colleagues that attended the session have this, and so does your director. So you can look at some of those specific ways to give that feedback. In addition, we're going to look at 5 different affirmation tools. These are the 5 different tools that I hope you learn to use. And the first one is narrating. And this is exactly what it sounds like. So if you go to a play and you hear a narrator talk, they're telling you what is happening. So narrating is a way of putting into words what's happening when an activity is noteworthy. And this is particularly appropriate to do with infants and toddlers. So examples may be, I see Marco putting all the balls in the barrel. You're simply stating what he's doing. Look at Sylvia going up the ladder and down the slide. I see Maria going up the slide. She's working really hard to get to the top. So we're narrating what we see happening. The second type of affirmation that we're going to talk about is positive I messages. Eleanor Reynolds is the author of a book, The Problem-Solving Approach to Guidance, and this is where this information comes from. And she says that there are 2 or 3 parts to an I message, and I suggest that you use all 3. Part 1 is stating your feelings. Part 2, when you say what is happening, and part 3, the reason you feel that way. For example, if I were talking to you as my students, I may say, I'm excited when students learn to affirm children in other ways besides saying good job, because it is more positive for the children. My feeling is excited. What's happening is that students are learning to affirm children. And the reason I feel that way is because it's more positive for children. The outcome is more positive. So I may say to a child, it makes me so proud when you share the scissors with your friend because it shows me that you're learning to be friends with the children in the classroom. So my feeling is proud. What's happening is they're sharing scissors, and I feel that way because they're learning how to be friends. A third type of affirmation is rituals, and you're likely doing this and just didn't have a name for it. So it's something that's repeated and that children can count on. A morning greeting, a goodbye song, when there's a new child in the classroom, when you start your day with a circle or group time and you use a song that welcomes everybody and says their names. You probably do this. And now when you do it, you can just be more intentional in knowing, hey, right now, this is an affirmation and I'm building relationships as I do this. A fourth affirmation is noticing. And this is simply the act of acknowledging a child's existence. So it could be something like a smile, a wink, a pat on the back, a thumbs up, a hug. But it could also be a verbal comment. So instead of saying, ooh, I love your new shoes, we may just simply say, I see you have new shoes today. Because when we say, oh, I love your new shoes, it's likely that you're going to have 10 other children come up to you and say, do you love my shoes? Do you love my shirt? Do you love my hair? And then that's creating those praise junkies. And then now we're not going to be sincere. Because now we're just going to say something to all the children. So instead of putting that value on it, going back to those guidelines, we're simply going to notice the child. I see you have new shoes today. It looks like you got a new haircut. This is going to be really hard. This is probably the hardest one for people to do because there's no judgment here. I strongly encourage you to practice, but you don't want to overdo it. You don't want to line all 10 children up or in circle time, go by and notice each one and not make it sincere. So throughout the day, you may have an opportunity to notice each child, but in their own unique way. And lastly, reinforcement is when a child performs some type of positive behavior, and then you affirm that behavior verbally. The child takes the action, and then you immediately comment. And the child feels approval for that action. So, for example, you've been working with Sergio on the hand washing process, and he washes his hands using these steps that you've taught him. So you say, Sergio, you remembered all the steps in washing your hands. You're reinforcing that behavior that he took. Excuse me. You're reinforcing the behavior that he did. If a child remembers to put their trash away after lunch. Anna, you remembered to put your plate in the trash. You're reinforcing that behavior and you want to see it again.